Bosh!
How are you doing? You all right?
Way aye.
A bit early for you, is it?
Oh, this is spot on, this one. I was
Okay.
keeping the eyes open last night.
Yeah. How are you keeping? You all right?
Yeah, spot on. Wicked. Got me coffee, got me water.
Yeah. Sound. Hop into things straight away then. And this is a new question because a lot of the time you get a lot of DJs where they just use their own name as the sort of DJ name, and you can't really ask this question. But where did you come up with the name Tephra?
It was kind of like, it was a funny one because when I was like, when I was playing for, working at Digital, we're doing like nights, and then like your name was on the flyer, so it was just like sort of James Stevenson on the flyer, and it was like, it just looked awful more than anything. So one of the promoter, he was like, right, come up with like a sort of brand. In fact, I think we're putting out like a mix series for the Saturday nights, and I was doing a mix series. Like, right, let's come up with a name for you. And then he sort of took my name and come up with this. He come up with Tephen, sort of like Tephen. And I was like, it didn't really work. And then I had a little play around with it, and then it just come up with Tephra. And then after that, when I Googled it, I found out it was like something to do with volcanic ash or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and then it just stuck really since then. So it's not really a massively good story, like, but.
Do you think it's a better thing to kind of, rather than just have, like you say, your name like James Stevenson or me, Mike Sutton, to kind of have a bit of a twist and something a bit more unique to be able to market better?
I think it helps. I do think it helps massively, yeah. I think like you've got, I mean, looking at all like the big brands and stuff like that, it does appeal more to, to labels and to like promoters and stuff like that. If you've built yourself a little brand, I think it does help massively. It gives you a lot of weight behind you. But again, some people just have cool names.
Armin van Buren.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But and some names just work. I tried everything to try and keep my name to make it work, but it didn't have a right ring to it really.
It makes sense because in this industry where there's so many people constantly coming through and there's new people always wanting to get in, you gotta have a memorable name, haven't you? And something that people will think about as soon as they see it.
Definitely, yeah. And I kind of just wanted like a sort of just a one word sort of thing. I always like, I don't know, that's what I wanted anyway. But yeah, that's where we'll come up with that. And then I got some little Brazilian guy to design some logos and stuff like that. I didn't even know how I found him. But
what, just like online, or do you know him in person?
I think I'm on like loads of different pages and stuff, like on Facebook and everything like that. And like production pages and like just all, up and coming people and all that kind of stuff. And this, I remember this like guy posted on and said if anyone needs any logos designed and stuff, because I originally had done my own logo myself. Like I can do a little bit of photoshopping and stuff like that. So I come up with like my old logo, and then I seen this guy and he'd worked with like some pretty good like up and coming names at the time. So I messaged him and he was like from Brazil, and I was just like, right, couldn't really speak much English. And I says, this is what I want, kind of like sent him some ideas. So, and then he just come up with some logos and a little badge and stuff like that, which looked really wicked. So I was over the moon with that.
Yeah, it's sweet. That little badge you got is quite memorable. It's ideal, that is. So going into it then, what was your first sort of musical memory in life?
First musical memory. So I suppose like growing up and stuff like that, like my family and stuff's always been like in and around music, not musicians, but like always just blaring music, and always like it's always been, a loud house with music on and everything like that. So in terms of when I was really young, probably parties and stuff like that where there's just music blasting, and I was always kind of like drawn over to, like, as stupid as it sounds, the lights. So I was always like on the lights, just making the lights bouncing and that. And then like going into sort of musical instruments and stuff like that, when I like took an interest in that, was kind of, I think it was when I was in year 3 in primary school. So I don't know how old I was then. Maybe it's about 10 or something like that. How old they are then? I don't
Year
know.
3, you're like 8.
Yeah, about 8, 9. And this person come into school, into the primary school, and he was like, right, because we hadn't done anything like this before he come in. He was like, right, we're doing like a music test. So he played like, I think he had about like 15 questions or something like that to the whole class, and he started playing out these like sort of like tones, and they were played, and he was like, right, is this tone higher than the next tone, and like stuff like that. Just like it was all really, really simple stuff, obviously for the age of it. And then there was only like about 8 people who got majority of the questions right, and he kind of just pulled off afterwards and just said, right, do you want to like start, do you want to learn a musical instrument? So I was like, yeah, sound. But they were all like classical instruments, so they were all like brass instruments, violins, flipping cellos, like all sorts. And I chose, it was a cornet, so it's like a small fat trumpet. And that's where I sort of like first started playing an instrument, was then. And I like got this trumpet and stuff, and then like started like learning how to read music and play that. And then from there, one of the teachers started doing like an after school guitar class. And then I just sort of I started going there. Didn't have my own guitar because I was like providing them and that. Started like learning like tablature and stuff like that. And then I got my own guitar, and then from about year 5 onwards, I was just playing that like all the time, like, you know, not playing video games or nothing like that. It was just literally playing my guitar after school, like, you know, all the weekends, every spare little time I had. And then yeah, that was sort of how I got into like music, really.
What would you say your music taste was at that time?
It was stuff like Red Hot Chili Peppers and things like that. Let's open this window. I think Red Hot Chili Peppers and yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers definitely. I remember like when I was like, I don't know, maybe it's about in year 6 or something like that. Went down to York with my family, and there was this like music shop there, and when I went down, my mum was like, right, you can have anything you want, like down in York for the day. So I went to this music shop and got this Red Hot Chili Peppers guitar tablature book thing, and that was for the album. I think it was By the Way, and yeah, that's what I got.
Okay. And how old would you have been then?
Eh?
How old would you have been then, roughly?
I don't know, maybe it's like 11, 12 or something like that. But yeah, and then I sort of kind of like, what used to happen was, like in my mum and dad's house, I just had this like spare room full of like guitar stuff and like all sorts. And then I used to like get wrong because I was getting like all my new stuff, what I'd get, like whether it was guitar amps or like foot pedals or like new guitars or anything like that. The I just ended up like used to take them all apart and like just sort of like unscrew all of the like the home, like the pickups and like all of the, you know, the tone knobs, and like take all the strings off, take it all apart completely, and then like see how it worked, put it straight back together. Like I was sort of, it was kind of, I don't know, I just like enjoyed finding out how it sort of worked. And then yeah, that was with me through all throughout the school really, which took us into like the early teens and that. And when I went into comprehensive school, that was where the music rooms had a lot more choice, and there was like all sorts, keyboards, pianos, drums. They had like a big school band and all that kind of stuff. And then from halfway through first year or something like that, I just got talking to the school, like the school music teacher, and I says, can I like stop behind after school, from 3:30 till 4:30 or till 5 o'clock, whenever, and can I just like play around in the music room? Because I didn't have any like after club classes like that, like at my comp. So he was like, yeah, absolutely fine. So I just went there, and then I was kind of like drawn towards the drums for some reason, and I just used to sit and like on the drum kit, didn't have a clue how to play them at all. And I would just like sit there, I had like my iPod on, listening to whatever music, and then like trying to work it out how to play. And then I just eventually ended up learning myself how to play. And then from there, that like I was literally probably about 3-4 nights a week in this music room after school. And then eventually, I think when I was in like year 9 or something like that, the music teacher was like, oh, do you want to be the drummer in the school band? Which was like it was about a 15-20 piece like brass band. And I was like, yeah, sound. And then I was doing that. And then I went to America with the school band. Played in like, it was over in Washington. And then we went to Virginia for like 7 days with the school.
Wow.
That was wicked. And then when we come back, the brought in like another music teacher, and she was like brilliant, and she like, seen me as like being the drummer in the school, and then she was like, "Do you fancy doing something completely different?" And I was like, "Yeah, sound." So she had this like project going on with, I think it was with something to do with Durham City Council or something like that, and it was a big steel pan band. So she was like, right, I need someone to play like the tenor pans, which are just like the big, massive, like oil drum, like playing the bass notes and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, sound. So then we've done that. We've done like loads of like shows in like cathedrals and all over the place doing that. And that was wicked. And then, yeah, so then that took us up until when I left school. And then I didn't really know what I wanted to do work-wise or anything like that. And I was just kind of like, right, I want to do music, and I didn't know what I wanted to do really. I was like, I want to do music.
At that point, was like music the goal in life?
Pretty much, yeah. And I was just like, I was literally just like, I didn't know what I wanted to do in music, but I was just like, right, I want to be involved in music, and that's what I want to do. That's what I want my career to be. And then as I like spoke to a few more different people in the industry, and obviously like, advisors and stuff like that, who you get, like people who you speak to about college and like things like that in school and that, they were kind of like, well, you could go into teaching, which is not really, I didn't really want to do that. And then the other side of thing, which I was getting from like industry professionals, were like, well, why don't you start like being a technician and doing like rigging and like, working on the road and all that kind of stuff, which was kind of appealing to us. But then again, they were saying it's like seasonal work sort of thing. So you're not, you're not guaranteed work. So you might be on work for 2-3 months doing a tour for someone, and then you might be off work for 6 weeks or whatever. It was a bit uncertain. So anyway, in the meantime, time was getting on, and like you had to like sort of choose what to do. So I was like, right, I'll go and do me A levels. So then I chose like to do some A levels. Hated every single second of it because it was all just like academic stuff. Done that for a year, dropped out, and then I went and studied music technology for 2 years. And I was like just doing this music technology course. And by this point, which I should add really, I was sort of getting into like live mixing and stuff like that. So as in doing like sound for like bands and, recording like local bands and all that kind of stuff. So I was sort of getting into the computer software of like, you know, EQ and things, and like setting limiters up and just like all that kind of like sort of novice stuff at the time. And then so when I went into college, all the stuff which they were teaching you, it was like sort of a it was a diploma and like a foundation degree sort of thing. It was like all the stuff was quite like old hat, like I'd already sort of knew what they were trying to teach me, sort of thing. And then that's when I sort of just used to go in the music rooms and just sort of like go on Pro Tools and like open up Logic and just like mess around on there and like open up, you know, synthesizers, and just like that's when I started to get into like the electronic side of things. And then on the side of that, so outside of college and all that kind of stuff, I didn't have a job or anything like that. So I was started playing in a working band, and we're just going around and doing like social clubs, weddings, you know, functions, and the odd pubs and all that kind of stuff. And that was my income. And then I was probably about 19, 20, something like that. My dad was like, right, what's your plan? Like, what you gonna do, sort of thing. Like, you know, you haven't got a job, you're doing gigs and all that kind of stuff. But you know, what's your solid sort of plan? What's gonna happen? And he just said, he went, have you ever like considered an apprenticeship? And I was like, I says, no, actually I haven't. So he says, right, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to, there's like electricians, there's plumbers, there's all sorts. And I was like, right, we'll go for a plumber. And then, and that was when I was 19 or something like that. Started an apprenticeship, 4 years. And then I qualified when I was 23. And then that's what I've done, like, as my income and my sole job ever since. And then music was always put on, like, sort of like, I drew the line of sort of pursuing it as a full-time career and then doing it as a hobby. And I actually started enjoying it a lot better because I was like less stressed, and I was less like, you were like sort of trying to force something, which wasn't like, do you know what I mean? It was kind of, it's like, it definitely took the pressure out of things. Like landing a full-time job or an apprenticeship, and like, you know, not having to worry about income and having to work like Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night to like earn a living, sort of thing. So yeah, that was really good. And then, like I say, all the time doing this, I was kind of dabbling and doing things like in Pro Tools, a little bit in Logic. Then I had like this old computer at my mum and dad's house, which I'd like upgraded a number of times and should have just hid it in the bin really and got a new one. But I had Fruity Loops installed on that, and that to me was like, it was like a really good like sequencer to get like something going straight away. And I used to make, like, at the time it was like Scouse House type of stuff, like Wigan Pier type of like offbeat donkey sort of like shite really. And just used to play that. Used to get like these awful acapellas out of sample packs and like drop them in and like make these horrible tunes. I wish I've still got that. Probably actually might still have them on my mum and dad's computer, to be fair. Like, but yeah, and then I'm trying to think of when I sort of started really delving into like the nitty gritty of like starting to produce things and like taking your time and like not sort of thinking. Yeah, it was probably, I mean, I'm 28 now. It was probably when I was like, 20, 22, 23. Started really like sort of, I'd done this like, I made this, I got this acapella for Red Carpet, All Right. And I had this vocal for it, and I was just like sitting around playing the piano, sort of having a mess around with it. Come up with these like chords, and then ended up just like stemming it into just a remix, and it just flowed really, really easily. I think I'd done it in about, the whole idea was done and dusted in about a day, which is, you know, fairly quick.
Mm.
Uploaded that to SoundCloud, and there was just like, you know, at first not very many people listening to it, and then it like snowballed and loads of people started downloading it and playing it and everything like that. And I was like, flip now. Obviously never really experienced out like that before. And then I just started, just delving into loads of different like sounds, and like, you know, exploring genres of electronic music. And, you know, I mean, like the music scene up here in like the Northeast, and that's pretty, it's pretty good. The amount of, you know, like the clubs and stuff you've got in Newcastle and things like that. So when I was like in my early 20s and stuff like that, we're going out to like the big events and stuff, and you've got like, you know, Alesso and Hardwell and people like that playing at Digital, and you go in there and you're like experiencing all these new sounds, where my background's always been like live music.
Uh-huh.
You're hearing like a kick drum with a sub bass, and like, or, you know, or just a proper growling bass line on a big massive system, and you've never heard these sounds before, and you're in a club with your mates and stuff, and it's like, fucking like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, you can't explain it. You're just like, this is fucking mental.
Did you get into raving sort of like as soon as you turned 18, 19 and experiencing that sort of thing?
No, it was probably a little bit later. It was probably like me, like 20 or something like that, like early 20s. I think like when I was like 17, 18, 19, it was like, you know, going to the proper shit places in like, you know, or just, you know, like the student type of stuff, and just like, wasn't really interested. And then when you I can't remember the first show I went to. I think it might have been Hardwell, but he was warming up. I can't remember who he was warming up for now. But everyone was like in the queue and stuff like that. Obviously Hardwell was up coming then. I can't remember who the headline was. It might have been someone, I think it was Knife Party who was headlining, and then Hardwell was warming up. And I just remember like people in the queue going like, there's this guy who's warming up called Hardwell, and like he's going to blow Knife Party out the water and like all this kind of stuff. So the hype was just like through the roof for Hardwell, and I remember his set, and it was just like absolutely bouncing. And then from there it was kind of, I think that was like my first show really.
Would this have been like 2012, 2013, like that time?
Yeah. Maybe a little bit earlier, like late 2011 or something like that. But yeah, and then you sort of just opened this whole can of worms of like, right, because of, you know, wake up the next day or whatever, and you're just like, that was absolutely mint. When's the next one? It was always bank holidays all the time. It's like May bank holiday, which is actually this weekend. May bank holiday is Sunday, the end May bank holiday is Sunday, August bank holiday, it was like always a show, Digital. And it was always just an absolute beast of a headliner. But yeah, then you opened a can of worms, and it was just like, right, where's the next one on? You're having a look, and it's like, right, Manchester, right, we're going down to Manchester for the next one.
So once you did a few, did you start properly getting into them then?
Yeah. I mean, you know what it's like yourself. It's just a bit of a bug in it. And once you're there, and it's just the crack of being in the crowd, and like, you know, and this is just experiencing it as a clubber and not like behind the decks or anything like that. And obviously at the time you think to yourself like, that would just be flipping class if you could like be that DJ sort of thing, but it still really wasn't in the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have that moment where, I mean, even for me, like I wasn't even as far ahead in the mindset that you were, of where I could do something musical wise for a career. I was literally just thinking like, you know, I'll do my work and whatnot on the weekends, and then I'll go to raves, and that's pretty good for me. But then as I started going to more raves, I just, you know, like you say, you get the bug and you fall in love with it. And then it just kind of, as you go to each rave, and you start to pay more attention to what the DJ's doing, and you're like, oh my God, and you're following everything that he's doing, and then it kind of creeps into your head at a point. I could do that. I could do that. You know.
Oh no, definitely.
And so when was the first time that you sort of, got behind a pair of decks and started learning?
Well, I did used to remember, like, when I was like going back to school, one of my best mates at the time, he got a pair of like vinyl decks, and he was just playing, like, used to play like Makina stuff, like, just Raj music, and I wasn't really that interested. I was just like, he even used to say it was, do you want to borrow them and that? And I was just like, nah, I'm not really too fussed in like with that. And then when was it? Like, I'm trying to think. I would say when I was in college, I bought myself like a controller sort of thing. I think it was like a DDJ, something like a Pioneer controller thing, and started having a mess about with it. But before that, there was like DJ software and stuff what you could get on your computer and that. And I don't really know if that like counts as a sort of like a DJing sort of thing. But I used to just remake little things like jingles and stuff like that. So I wasn't actually like mixing music and stuff in. And it was probably when I first started going out like clubbing and to events and stuff like that. And I just thought, right, downloading the music, like I had this controller, and I was just like started learning myself how to mix. And that was probably it in like the early 20s, I would have thought.
Something that always makes me laugh every time I think about like the last time I was hanging out with you in digital was just see, I can't remember who I was with. I think it was what's his name, Josh, the hardstyle manager who was there. And he kind of noticed it, and I went, "What the fuck? That tiny little USB got hilarious! It was hilarious to look at. I was like, what the frig is that?"
I've went through so many of them, man. Like, unbelievable. I've had like I don't know why I even got them. I think the idea behind it was I was going to get them, and there's like a little I think oh no, sorry, somewhere else. It's like it's got a little hole in where you can put like a little mini lanyard thing. Do you know what I mean? Like a little thing. So I was gonna buy them, so then I can just easily like whip them out and just hook them on a key ring or whatever, or put them in my bag or something. It's easier to find. I just never got round to doing it. And yeah, I've just left them at so many gigs. And I've just lost them. Like they come in these little like plastic cap case things. And I always take the I'll take the plastic cap off, put it in my back pocket, put them in the decks, and then when I come home the next day, I'll have like one in and I'll have like two plastic caps there, and like one's empty, and I'm just like, oh my God, whereabouts is it? And then I can't find it, and then I have to reorder them again. I'm gonna change my USBs thinking about it now. Like,
yeah, they are smart, because I think sometimes, like I think maybe twice, thankfully only in here and not at a gig. But when you're reaching for something, or you're going to grab a drink or something, or you're reaching for your headphones, I have occasionally knocked them. And if you do knock them even a little bit, it can, basically disconnect the thing, and then you're in trouble then.
I remember one night at Digital when there was a few were playing back to back. I think there was 3 or 4 or something like that. So I had 4 decks. But were like all over the place, and one lad had like a big USB thing like that. It was huge. And I just like, he wasn't playing at the time, but I knocked it and snapped it. So like the USB was just stuck inside the, you know what I mean? Like it was proper snapped inside of the little holder.
No way.
That's why. So
oh my God. Were you able to still keep playing?
Yeah, well, we had 3 other decks, so he wasn't playing at the time, but I was just, moving back and forwards or doing whatever I was doing, and then I knocked it and snapped the whole thing. And yeah, so that wasn't very good, like.
Yeah. So How did you go about getting your first gig?
My first gig, believe it or not, was actually digital.
Mm.
And how it come about was so when I was working doing like sound for bands and stuff like that, I knew this guy called John Gambit, and he had like a sound company who used to provide like sound, like light, pyrotechnics and all that kind of stuff to for big corporate events and everything like that. And we'd use them a couple of times, like for extra bits of sound equipment and stuff. And he got in touch with us and he said, "I'm doing. Will you give us a hand because I'm doing the pyrotechnics at a nightclub in Newcastle
Okay.
for a Saturday night?" And I was like, "Yeah, sound." And I said, "What's the nightclub?" And he went, "Digital. Have you heard of it?" And I was just like, "Aye," but like I kept it cool. And then when we went, it was for Dimitri Vegas, like Mike.
Oh wow.
They were playing, and so they needed like extra pyrotechnics and all that kind of stuff. So we went there, and then when I was there setting up and stuff, obviously I'd been a couple of times beforehand, seen shows and that, and Felix had always been warming up beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like doing the warm up slot. Anyway, I was like setting this like all this shit up and that, and then Felix walked in, and we just like had a little bit like, "Oh, you're all right," blah 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 blah, and that was that. I think I had him on Facebook as well at the time, so yeah, we had a little chat and all this kind of stuff, got to know people and yeah, little bits and pieces, and then that was that. And then about a week later, I messaged him and I was just like, "Oh, like really enjoyed that night, flipping, all the usual spiel." And I says, how do I go? Like, I was like, "How do you go about like getting them gigs and like just chatting on and all that kind of stuff?" And he was like, "Oh, well, telling all of like his background and things like that." And then we got talking for a little bit, and then you mentioned that he was playing on a Saturday, every Saturday at Digital for like Love Saturdays, and he's like, "You should come down and have have a night out and like just give us a message and I'll sort you out," sort of thing. So I did, and I went down, and then I met a few people there, and just basically having a drink and yeah, just having a daft time really, and just enjoying ourselves. And then I don't know how it actually fully came about, but I was speaking to Ben. And then he was like, "Do you want to come and play like the first hour on a Saturday?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely sound, no problem at all." Obviously, I'd never played. I think he'd asked us like, "Where have you played before, or have you DJ'd before, anything like that?" And I'm pretty sure I said to him, "Aye." I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Played loads of places, like like it's absolutely sound sort of thing. I just played in my bedroom. I still to this day I don't think he actually knows that. And then so he was like, "Right, meet us at the Dog and Parrot beforehand. We'll have a few beers and that. And then yeah, you just play the first hour from like I think it was 11 or 12 or whatever the
In
first
the
hour
main room or
in the main room, yeah, or half
wow.
10 till 11 or something." So I
Jeez.
remember for like 2 weeks beforehand, I was like shitting myself because I was just like, and when he
Yeah.
asked us, because I was like, "Oh, I've like proper got myself into something here," which I'm like way out my depth.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but like the kind of person what I am, I kind of like, I also like that at the same time because
Yeah, absolutely.
I like to be a little bit out my depth because I think you don't really move forward unless you do push yourself like that.
You either crumble or thrive.
Exactly, aye. So anyway, turns up, had a beer and that. I was just like playing it cool, but really I was just like, and then we went in the club and stuff. And he actually said he was like, how do you like to play? And obviously I'd never played on a set of 2000s or anything before, or anything like that. So I just said, I was like, "Right, I'll bring my controller." So he's like, "Right, yeah, sound, whatever." So I brought the controller up, set it up on the thingy and that. And obviously I'd never set up like it into the mixer or like anything or like out like that before. So what I'd done as well, my cousin, who's he was like DJ, he used to DJ for like Head Candy and all that kind of stuff. I spoke to him and he's like, right, I've played that digital a few times before. What you need to do is bring your time, like bring some time code CDs, and like he has like the audio box and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like totally freaking out, thinking like, what the hell? I'd never seen like that set up before, anything like that before, like just never been involved in it. So I had that, took it along and stuff, and I just couldn't get it working at all. And like the time was ticking and stuff like that. I think it was about 11:15 or something like that. Still couldn't get it working. And Felix was just like, right. He says, he was like, come back next week, like sort your shit out. Come back next week and like do it again. Like so, because obviously I couldn't get nothing working.
Oh no.
He was just like, sort your shit out and then come, like, we'll do it again next week. And I was just like, oh my God, like another week of shit.
This was all happening before doors open, I guess.
Yeah. I think it was either 10:30 opening or 11 o'clock because it used to change. And it was like 15 minutes beforehand. Yeah, I just couldn't get it working. I'm just like sweating and just like all sorts. Anyway, so I just ended up getting steaming that night and just, totally forgetting about it. Then the next week I come back, and that was when I come back with my controller, plugged it in, and then played the first hour. And yeah, it was mint. Just kept it really like chilled out and mellow and that. And then I just kept on doing that. Like, so every couple of weeks, you'd just be like, do you want to come and do the first hour? Do you want to do the first hour? Do you want to do the first hour? And then it went from doing the first hour to then I'm saying like, do you want to do the first hour and then do the last hour? And I was just like, yeah, sound. And then it was like, it went from that to doing like, he was like, right, do you want to do like a back to back for the first like 2 hours? And then for like the last hour and a half or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, sound. And then I think it was like so like Felix used to have like, he would get like booked in gigs and all that sort of stuff, and some gigs would fall on a Saturday night. And there was one night where he was booked to play somewhere, and it was a Halloween, which was like one of the biggest nights of the year, really. For like the Saturday night, and the 31st fell on the Saturday as well. So he was booked to go and play somewhere, and he went, can you do the main room all night? And I was just like, fuck me. I was like, right, okay, sound. So the promo team who used to run the Saturday night used to put loads of effort into like the decor, like, the dancers, the pyrotechnics, like confetti, CO2 cannons, like they just used to go all out. So we went like their offices beforehand. Like everyone was getting the makeup and everything all done and stuff. And then just played for 5 hours in the main room, which was like, I think that was the first time. And it was like, that was probably one of the best nights I've had in there. Because it was just, honestly, everyone, there was like 1,800 people just crammed in, and everyone was just locked in for the full night, just like raving away. And that was just such a beast of a night, that like.
That'd have been so good.
But yeah, so that was how I like got in with digital, really.
And how old again would you have been then? Like, how long ago would it have been?
I was about, I would say, 21ish or something like that. Maybe 20, 21. 21, 22 maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then but I mean, Saturday nights, like at digital, whether you were playing or not, like I was down there anyway, and the night out was just absolutely class crack in itself. Like, people who I met, like friends, and it just used to be a fucking howl from start to finish. Just die. It was just fucking hilarious.
And
Stuff you used to see and just like the crack was just fucking class. But yeah.
so it's been what? Obviously, bar last year, been 7 years since your first gig.
Mm-hmm.
So your first gig was digital.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go from there in terms of gig wise?
So what I ended up doing was like see loads of like in my head I'm trying to get things lined up and like a timeline, but things just happen like all over the place. But so when I was doing this, I was still like doing things in a band and all that kind of stuff. And they used to sort of like, we used to say to like wedding functions and stuff like that. Like, have you got a DJ sorted? Do you want me to DJ afterwards when we finish playing and all that kind of stuff? So, like, I will be doing that for a few weddings and DJing and all that kind of stuff afterwards, which was obviously all the wedding kind of, like the party wedding type of vibe. And then in the meantime, I was doing some gigs up in Newcastle in bars, like I can't remember the name of the bar now. It actually got set on fire. Got set on fire about 5 years ago. It was a wicked little bar, but I was covering gigs there on like a Friday night, and that was all like chilled, like sort of minimal house, and like it was proper like cool, really nice, cool vibes. And then I was doing like Thursday nights at a place called Sinners, which I don't know if you've heard of it or been or whatever like that. It's like a proper trashy little bar next to the gate in Newcastle. Got like a cage inside, strippers upstairs. Like, it's a midnight out though. So I was doing like a Thursday night in there, I think. And I covered one gig. And then the manageress was like, right, a Wednesday night's come up. Can you do a Wednesday night as well? And I was like, fucking hell. I was working like through the day. And obviously my Saturday nights were just like, I was free because I'd been working Monday to Friday. My Saturdays I was free. And then these odd Thursday nights and stuff which cropped up, I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that. I think it was till like 2 in the morning or something. Well, Wednesday night was like was a big student night. So this is the Wednesday night slots come up. Can you do that? So I was like, right, okay. I'll do it until you find like someone permanent, but I can't do it like full time. So that was 9 o'clock till 3 in the morning.
Jesus.
So I was doing that on a Wednesday. I'd done it for like a couple of weeks and I was like absolutely knackered. And I used to, so what my routine used to be, also I was doing that on a Wednesday and then they said, oh, the DJ on the Tuesday night has threw in the towel. Can you help out on a Tuesday night as well? So I was like doing a Tuesday night 9 till 2 and then I was doing the Wednesday 9 till 3. But in between this, I'm getting up at like 7 o'clock in the morning and going to work. So then my routine started being, I would like come in from work at about say, 4, 5 o'clock or whatever, quickly like have a shower, jump into bed, like, this is in like just coming into like now time sort of thing. So it's light and stuff. Shut the blinds, hop into bed, force myself to go to sleep and wake up at about like 8 o'clock, get food and then head up to Newcastle and play 9 till 2 or 3 in the morning, go straight to sleep when I come in for like 2-3 hours and then go to work, then catch up on my sleep again on a tea time. And I've done that for ages, like so long. And then I ended up jacking in one of the days. I think it was a Tuesday night or whatever. I says, look, I can't do that. Like, it's just way too much on me. So I'll like pie that off. And then in the meantime, when I was there, on a match day, when Newcastle were playing at home, they used to put like strippers on upstairs. So there was a couple of times where I used to get a call like on a Thursday and say, "Oh, Stephen can't do the strippers on a like DJ for the strippers on a Saturday. Do you mind like stepping in?" And I've never done nothing like that before. And I was like, "What the fuck do you play to strippers or like anything like
Next,
that?"
it's Alexis to the stage.
So like, so like, how do you know about that? So I fucking, I rang Stephen up and I was like, "Look, what are you playing?" He was like, "Honestly," he says, "it's a piece of piss. Don't worry about it." He says like the strippers will give you like, or they'll like message you or whatever with like certain songs what they like to fucking dance to and that, and then in between you just play like 3 or 4 songs of just like something in that kind of genre, like R&B or just like fucking, you know, something shit. So I went up there and I didn't really know what to expect. And then there was obviously like stags and stuff in there, people like from the match, and then like the sleazy old blokes like sitting in the corner. And yeah, then I was just like playing, and then like, but they were like, it was actually class crack, to be fair. Literally crack everywhere, but like, fucking, no, it was actually really good crack. Got to know like all the people and stuff, and then I'd done that for a few weeks, and that was fun. And then I ended up, I can't remember what happened with Sinners actually. It all got like new owners come in, and it was like shut for like 3-4 weeks. New owners came in, they cleared everyone out, and then the owners asked if I wanted to go back to DJing, and I was like, nah. Like the manageress who was there, she'd left. All the bar staff had left, who I was like friends with and stuff, and I just thought, nah, like I'm just not going to do it. So then that stopped. And then in the back of my mind at the time, I was always thinking of like, right, what else can I do like locally? Because obviously I'm from South Shields. It's about 12-13 miles from Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's loads of like really cool like mint bars on the actual beach, like where we are. So literally like, walk out
I've
the
been
door.
there before.
Beach. Yeah, well, it's wicked, right?
Yeah.
And there's loads of like these cool little bars and stuff, and I always putting bands on and things like that. And all my mates and stuff are like, when we go there and we have a drink, it's like, fucking hell, this band's just too loud. Like, fucking, should we drink up and move on? So I'm thinking to myself, well, when you're sitting down South Shields, it's a red hot summer's day, sun's blaring. There's, you might have background music on, or there's a band playing or something like that, but it's just not the right vibe. And I was thinking like, how can I change this sort of thing? And I knew like the managers and the people who booked the bands and stuff through like me being in bands and getting to know the people and playing at these places myself and all that kind of stuff. So I got speaking to them. I was like, right, how do you feel about doing like sort of, say, a bank holiday Sunday through the day from like 2:00 in the afternoon till 9:00 at night? I'll DJ like all day, and I'll get a sax player down, I'll get like percussion, I'll like, we'll just make it into kind of like a Cafe Mambo, like really fucking mint little place. And they're like, yeah, sound. Well, I had like PA systems, like speakers and stuff from like when I was in bands, and it's all in this lockup which I had. And then like every bank holiday, I think it was, I'm sure it was the bank holidays. And then it started from the bank holidays to like the last Saturday of every month, we started doing it. And I got down this guy called Steve Bone, who's like a phenomenal sax player, like literally unbelievable. And me and him would just like rock it out, like playing on this balcony over the sand dancer. And just, yeah, it was just a wicked little vibe, and it was exactly what like I wanted to do to the place, sort of thing. But yeah, and then I haven't done that. Like, I stopped doing that about 2 years ago now. But that was wicked.
Mm-hmm.
It was class.
And so, I've seen that you've played other clubs other than Digital. Where did you end up going then?
So gig wise, what do you mean? Like, which other gigs have I played?
Obviously, you played Liverpool.
Yeah, I went. I left my memory sticks there as well. I had done this like little gig at. Were you there that night?
No, that's a story I can tell in a bit. But yeah, I was there. I weren't. I was on my way there.
You were gonna go, weren't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I done that gig at Liverpool with Felix. That was a fucking hoot. What else have I played?
You played Ministry as well.
Oh yeah. That was wicked. Yeah, after a few times, yeah, being down there with Felix, and then like being down when you've been there, and having a big crack with people and stuff like that. Then yeah, I played that. What's the room called? Is it 101?
103.
103. That was class. Yeah, really good.
That's a mint little room because it's like a sort of slightly smaller version of the digital main room. That room. It's class.
Yeah. I like where it is. It's good, and as well that they just fucking trap everyone in there as well to like, what is it, 12:30 or 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
Just trap everyone in that room, so fucking everyone's like dying for a party. And I think my set was timed perfectly.
Yeah.
Because like, was it Tajamu was playing, wasn't he? But then someone was playing before him. And then yeah, I think my set finished at like 12 or something like that. Yeah. That was a fucking good night, that.
Yeah, that's always a good spot to have at that time because you get like the build up because they don't open the doors till it used to be midnight. They used to hold the doors till midnight, and then they started doing 12:30. But then they're always late on 12:30, so sometimes it's near 1 o'clock, and you've got that room just booming, like so ready to go into the main room, and so that sort of hour, 11:30 onwards, that room is just. The atmosphere is incredible.
Yeah, it's a wicked little room.
And you got the balcony that walk around and everything. You got the crowd up there. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's a class little fucking room. Music and the production sort of thing. Like, I had when I was like living up with mum and dad's. I had like a computer there which I'd used for like Photoshop and like playing a few games on, and then I had like Fruity Loops installed on that. Because it was a Windows computer, and like the only Mac stuff which I'd had was when I was at college and like in school and all that. So yeah, I had that, and then when I was up digital and I was like, like playing and all that kind of stuff, I was more focused into the producing side of things. And then it was one of the in-house like technicians. He had his own like company doing like special effects for like he'd done things for like TV adverts and like things inside the digital and all that kind of stuff. And he had this like unit up in Killingworth, like this big like unit space. And I can't remember how I actually got speaking to him now about it. But I said, have you got any space in your unit? Because at my mum and dad's, the problem was sound. So I couldn't have, I couldn't have like a loop of something going for fucking ages because one, the neighbours, and two, my mum and dad would be like, will you turn that fucking thing down? So dead supportive. But fucking. So I was like always on the lookout for somewhere, and I just spoken to him, and I was like, look, have you got any room in your unit where I can set me like studio stuff up, and and I'll like rent it off you a month, like I'll just pay you whatever you want, sort of thing. And he was like 2 minutes, I'll leave it with us or whatever. And he got back to us and he sent us this picture of this little room. And like, so in his unit, he had this like little door, like this doorway thing with no door on. And it was just like this brickwork room, which had been painted white on the bricks. No light in it, no electricity, fuck all. It was like a little cupboard. And he was like, is this any good? And it was full to the brim with shit. And I was just like, can I come and have a look at it? So I went over, had a little look. And I was like, right, if we get all this shit out, I'll be able to fucking like do something with this. So he was like, right, I sound. And I went, how much do you want for it? And he was like, 40 quid a month. And I was like, so I was like, right, okay, fucking bang on. So I said, I was like, obviously don't charge us until like it's all done, because there's no electric in there, there's fuck all in there. And he was like, yeah, that's absolutely sound. So I fucking ended up like doing the whole thing out. It was actually, I say it's a cupboard, it was actually a pretty decent size, probably like bigger than the place where I'm in, actually, like in my spare room in my house now. So I ended up doing all that out, got it all like boarded, plaster boarded, skimmed, like electrics put in. There was fucking like old plumbing pipes which needed fucking done. I nearly flooded the whole fucking unit doing that. But like, yeah, ended up doing it all out, putting all my gear in, getting extra like bits of equipment and stuff in there. And like another part of the problem for me was like distractions when I was like trying to like get into the nitty gritty of stuff. So like I was opening up projects or things that I was working on, and like when I was at home, there was just too many distractions. There was just like things going on in the house, or like other things I could do, or like, and I couldn't like focus on what like the task I needed to do. So when I went up to Killingworth and I'd done all this room out and that, I started like going up, because it was about 25 minutes from my house as well. So when I was up there, I knew I was staying up there because to make it worth my while. So I was going up like on a Saturday morning, and like sound wasn't an issue in there. It was like, you know, you could have it as loud as you wanted for as long as you wanted. And I was going up on a Saturday morning and staying there till like 10 o'clock at night, just like a full day. And I was just like, it was like the most creative I'd ever like felt. And it was probably because I was in this new environment, new space. So I was buzzing about it. And like, I was just fucking, yeah, like everything I was doing, I was just like writing stuff, you know, getting really excited about the stuff which I was working with. And like, it was a whole, put like a whole like new lease of life into like what I was doing. And then I was there for 3.5 years. So when I was there, I ended up doing the first ever track which I released, which was Blast Off. So I finished doing that, and I sent it to like fucking hell probably about 200 labels. Like fucking when I finished, and I was just like fucking hell, like buzzing about this. Sent like 200 labels, didn't hear a fucking thing back from like literally anyone. And then this label got back in touch with us about a month after I'd sent it to everyone. And he was like, really like this tune. Is it still available? Can we put it out on our label? And I was like, yeah, sound. And then yeah, that was back in 2017. So then that went out, which was fucking mint. And and like for my first release as well, it was like I've learned like, well, I feel like I've learned so much since like putting your first release out. But for my first release, it actually done pretty well. Like not in terms of like charting on Beatport or anything like that, but the support what I got was fairly decent. Like Thomas Gold played it out on his radio, and then he played it out a couple of times in his residency in Miami. So he like played it out a few times. I can't remember now off the top of my head who played it out. Cosmic Gate played it, Mayon played it, like few people played it, and I was just like, fucking hell. So then when I was at that studio up in Killingworth, I was like saving up to buy my own house. So then when I bought my own house, that was when I gave up like Killingworth and took all my music stuff back in that, and then that's where I'm set up now in my house. But I'm in like in the spare bedroom at the moment. But I'm currently, I've got like a big garage in my garden, so that I'm just starting, probably 30% of the way through, like renovating that into a fully like properly kitted out studio. So hopefully that'll be done in the next fucking few months.
So with that first release, then obviously eventually you got to Enhanced.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of build your way up to them?
So that first release what I put out was that was with Alvida Music. It's like a Greek record label. And then you kind of like over time you're just making you're making contacts with people all the time. So you're speaking to people. You might not be getting like responses from people, or they might be responding, but it might not be to say that, yeah, we want to sign the record, but it might be like, oh, yeah, the record's cool, but it's just not really for us at the time, or why don't you try and send it here, or like whatever. And then I done a track with one of me, like one of my mates in real life, and we put it out on Free Grant's label, which was that was like probably about a year after when I put Blast Off out. And then with that, I put my own track out afterwards, about 6 months later on Free Grant's Music. And then with Enhanced, I was putting, before Enhanced was Elliptical Sun Recordings. So that was with Midnight Train when I put that out. And like, you're kind of on like people's radars and stuff as well at the time, because like I always want to you kind of want to, like, my sound is sort of like developed and stuff over time, but I'm kind of in a little pocket which is like not quite Anjunary type of trance. It's not exactly the enhanced sound as well, but it's like a sort of, I kind of sit myself in a little pocket below sort of thing. And when I'm so there's this guy who I know, Mark, who he like mix and masters all of my music.
Is that Maitland? Is it?
You what?
Is that Maitland? Is it?
Mark Maitland, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was putting like so he was doing all of like the enhanced music stuff at the time. In fact, he's still doing it now. And he says to them, he was like, "Have you heard of this guy? Like, I'll send you some of his like stuff, what I've done for him, and see what you think." And then the A&R guy got in touch, and he was just like, absolutely love. It was Fu. He was like, absolutely love this. Like, is it available or whatever? And I was like, yeah, of course it is. But I've got like loads and loads of tunes which are like sat there, which you kind of like you're waiting for you're kind of like waiting for a label to like pick you up, to offer them all these, to like offer all this music to. And that's what I was waiting for, kind of thing. And like Enhanced come along like that. And then I put Fu out, and then we've just kind of been working pretty closely for over the last sort of like, I would say 6 months, on like doing things with them. And like at the minute I've got like this remix which I'm working on for, well, I probably can't say the track, to be honest, like, but that's like a release which come out on Enhanced, and that's going to be wicked. And then I've got a couple of more releases which are like sort of waiting to get tidied up to get put out on Enhanced as well. So yeah.
What would you say is sort of the most memorable moment you've had from a gig?
Definitely 100%. Playing at Digital again, when it was warm. You were there that night as well.
Okay.
It was warming up for Vinny Vici.
Yeah.
The best gig I've ever played.
Really?
Yeah, it was like fucking unbelievable. So like that night as well was I turned up. What had I done again? I went. It's like Barry, who booked us for the gig. He said, "Can you do the first hour?" I was like, "Right, okay, sound." I turned up. I think it was about 7 o'clock or something, had a beer with Barry, like had a bit catch up with him. And then he got a phone call or something. He was like, can you, he was tied up doing something, and he was like, can you go and pick up Vinny Vici's tour manager from the Hilton at Newcastle Airport and bring him to digital so he can do a sound check. So I was like, right, okay, sound. So I drove up there, went and picked him up. Then on the way back to the club, and I was speaking to him, he was fucking just really like nice guy.
Yeah.
And we're like just chatting and stuff, and he was like, so what do you do, like blah blah blah, you like the promoter or like anything like that? I says no, like I'm playing the first hour. He's like, all right, class. He was like, what kind of stuff are you playing, and like blah blah blah. He was like, who else is on the bill and that? And I was like, there's me, there's this other guy, obviously yous, and then I can't remember who played afterwards now.
Headhunters,
and obviously like Headhunters were playing last. So he's like, all right, so you playing the first hour? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, all right, well, he says, what kind of music you playing and stuff? And I was like, oh, fucking, like this and blah, 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 blah. And like, it's probably just sort of like mellow stuff, Anjuna Deep and like all that kind of shit. I said, don't worry, like you're in safe hands with me. And like started telling them that I was like a resident there and like all that kind of stuff. And he's like, all right, mint, yeah. And then he rang Barry, and he was like, well, this is when I was in the car. He rang Barry and was like, right, what's the guy playing before us, before Vinny Vici? And Barry was like, oh, fucking EDM and I think a bit of Psy or something like that. And fucking the tour manager just kicked off, and he was like, we're not having someone play that before Vinny Vici. It was like the fucking one of the biggest side trance acts in the world. Like we're not having like a warm up doing that. So anyway, fucking Barry was freaking out and like didn't know what was going on, and they were like threatening to pull the show and everything. Like it was fucking
really.
It was like it was really like fucking touch
I
and go.
I remember things going on that night because obviously I was there and I was with you. I remember things going on, but I didn't know exactly what it was.
Yeah, it was chaos. So yeah, like fucking. So I got to the club and that with this tour manager, and they're like speaking and all this kind of stuff. And Barry's like panicking, and I went over and spoke to Barry. I said, Barry, like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? And he told us the crack, and like, and I was like, and he was like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I says, Barry, like, I says, if you want to, I'll play the hour beforehand. And I've got more than enough stuff to do it. That's absolutely sound. And I'm not too sure if this was the first gig I'd played with Barry, for Barry. So Barry didn't really know me. So he was like, well, I don't know what you can do or like what you're capable of, or like fucking warming up the main room for these sort of things. So he had to think about it, and that he come back and he says, right, can you play for 2 hours? Beforehand, and I was just like, fucking aye, like no problem at all. So I think it was 10:30 till 12:30, I think, and then Vinny Vici on at 12:30, and I just remember like fucking, because I'd been in digital before for shows, and like for me that changeover set is probably the best set. Like it's fucking, it's like for a DJ, it's just fucking, you're building that fucking momentum up in the room, and everyone in the dance floor is anticipating the headliner coming on. So it's just fucking like you can just feel the atmosphere in the room, and it's fucking like unbelievable. So yeah, like I played for 2 hours before them, and I was just like fucking, I was shitting myself because it was just so fucking much to take in. And then it got dropped on us like a bombshell like that on the night. But then yeah, like Barry was fucking over the moon with it. Vinny Vici was fucking over the moon with it. The tour manager was like absolutely buzzing about it. And he actually said, the tour manager, it's I'll not say who it was, but they were playing a gig in Czech Republic like the week before, and there was like a well-known act on before them who was doing the warm-up set, and he was like, you blew him out the water, and I was just like, fucking, I was fucking yeah.
Yeah.
But that was probably my most memorable gig to date. Like, definitely, it was just the whole, like, because I'd planned a set for an hour,
Yeah.
so like a warm-up set in the first hour when there's like maybe only playing half an hour to like nearly a full dance floor. Do you know what I mean? By the time people are coming through, so the first half an hour of me tracks were like just fucking nothing, or just, you know what I mean, like just a steady level of nothing. And then like I couldn't progress too hard because it was still the first hour. So the second hour and the cross, like the changeover, I had no preparation for that at all. So like for me, it was like I was fucking like using my brain more. I was like, it was just like a whole load of like fucking emotions and everything going through us, and I was just like, fucking hell. And then afterwards, it was like a big sigh of relief because it went so well, and I was just like, fuck me. And like all of that added into like, you know, a fucking jam-packed club. Like everyone's up for a good night, and people on the dance floor don't know all the fucking saga which has happened beforehand. You know, they're there for a fucking night out. And just all of that added into it, and I was just, and then afterwards, like having drinks and stuff, and like you were there and that, and it was just like fucking what a night. Like that was just unbelievable.
Yeah, the energy was immense, and they seem like sound guys. Like, you know, you spoke to a manager for a bit, and I got to speak to him for a bit. They seem like sound guys, but I didn't realize there was actually anything massively going on. I just thought the guy who was supposed to go on between you and them was late. That's genuinely all I thought it was, but maybe not then.
Yeah. Aye, but fucking, I mean, that's it, man. Showbiz, keep it professional. No one knows what's happened.
Yeah, too right. To well, if even I don't, and I was that close to the situation, then you've done the right thing, ain't you? What would you say then, going forward, would be your dream gig?
That's a tough one because I've never really fucking thought about that. Dream gig. That's a really tough question. I think probably a dream gig would be to like probably play at a state of trance in Utrecht. Would probably be my dream gig.
Really?
I would have thought, yeah. Aye. But that's like, yeah, that's fucking like the icing on the cake, I would have said.
Well, it's interesting because, like you say, your first release was supported by Thomas Gold and a few guys like that, and obviously he's more on the, you know, the EDM spectrum, but now you're kind of going down the more trancey route. Is that where you want to go, more trance route, or a bit of both?
It's funny because like the music which I write and which I continue to write is like the breakdowns and things like that are very fucking like very trancey breakdowns, and like has that fucking moment where you're like, you know, hands in the air and just like you're buzzing off the breakdown. And the main drops and even like the intro and outros are still banging, but it's not like it, like I say, it's not that Anjunary sound, but it does like crossover sort of thing. It's funny, because I'm not, you know, what I've learned as well is like, yeah, I love all like the Anjuna sound and the enhanced sound and all that, but that music's already getting made and put out with them, so I'm not sitting myself in that sort of pocket, so to speak. I'm just trying to keep myself like fresh and unique at the same time. But on the other side, it kind of doesn't help sometimes because you sit yourself too far outside the box, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's people, you know, you'll be sculpted then to go, right, well, can you just make it a little bit more like our sound sort of thing?
You can't really
Like,
do trance gigs or EDM gigs because there's no
yeah,
in the middle gigs.
exactly. But no, I mean like the in terms of like the support of like Thomas Gold and stuff like that, like the releases and things like that, they'll be put out like on promo runs and things like that with the label. So they just sent like that tune 4 weeks before it was released or whatever out to all of these DJs. And then I got reports back off the label saying like, right, I mean, the reports were fucking huge, and a lot of them were like, nah, no good for me, no good for me. And then like a few people were like, yeah, supporting on this week's radio show, blah, 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 blah. And then you could obviously tune in and check it out and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, Thomas Gold was one of them. But like I say, Cosmic Gate, that blast off tune as well is like, it's a funny one. It's not EDM-y, and it's not like trancey. It's like not even progressive-y sort of thing. It's like, it's just a mix of like all three kind of thing. You could hear on any of them shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm not like, I don't kind of put myself in like the classic sort of like trance bracket or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just like I love all the writing and technicalities of trance music, and I apply that to what I like to hear on dance floors, and that's mainly fucking absolutely banging fucking bass lines and stuff like that. So it's like you're putting that in together with it, and the music what I write is like pretty much what I want to fucking listen to. If I was out clubbing or anything like that, I'm like, fucking, that's what I would like to fucking listen.
I think like for me growing up, like through listening to dance music and things like that, my thing was always like big room and EDM and that sort of thing. And then when I hit, I think I was like maybe 19, or actually no, I might have been 18. I started like seeing Andrew Rayel sets and things like that online at Ultra, and I started properly getting into him, and I fell in love with like that trance big room sound. Like it was epic. And I went my second ever second ever time at Ministry, third ever rave. We're seeing him at Ministry headline. It was him and I think David Gravel warmed up, so it's a proper little decent setup. Oh no, Ruben Durand opened up, then David Gravel went on after him, so it was a good night, like. And that was a mad experience. And then I loved that sound for a few years, and then I went back into sort of, I've always listened to the EDM and the house and all that sort of stuff, but I had that as well. And then probably end of 2019, I started listening to the sort of Anjuna Deep, the Anjuna stuff and all that kind of thing. And then it was a bit of a bummer, really, because like I haven't really been to any. I went to an Anjuna Beats night. I think they did it at the end of 2019. They did a night at Cosmic, did they, or Digital, where they did like the tour of the country. They did like one in Brighton, one in Birmingham, one in Liverpool, I think one in Newcastle.
That's like Cosmic, aye.
That's it, yeah. That's it. And they did one in Birmingham, not far from where I am. And it was probably like the best lineup at the whole tour. It was nuts. And it was such a good night. Like, I loved it. But yeah, I kind of fell into that sound, and also the charming Marla, bassy house sort of stuff. I love that as well. And so I've got listening to all of that. But for some reason, I've never been able to sit down and enjoy the sort of pure trance, is what I'd call it, like the Paul van Dyk, Giuseppe Ottaviani. I think it's just, there's not a lot going on. It's just really like bland for me, I guess. There's not a lot for me. I'd say it's like almost like the techno of the trance world, like that pure classic trance, and it's just a bit boring. Whereas like the Anjuna beats, the Anjuna deep, there's something different to it that I like.
I think well, like obviously things have changed massively in terms of technology. So the production quality which you can achieve now compared to back in like the late 90s and stuff, early 2000s, when when you're getting like this classic trance like sound what you're talking about. The sound what you can achieve now, which is like the trance 2.0 type of sound, which is like the Anjunery sort of thing. The quality is like it's like incomparable, but still the songwriting capabilities and like all the like the ARPy sounds and like the ARP lead sounds and stuff like that, which is used in the classic trance sort of stuff. It's still really good. And like I enjoy it, but I can see what you mean where it's not everyone's sort of cup of tea. You know what I mean? But like I say, this like Anjunery Trance 2.0 type of stuff is like, it's just fucking, you listen to it and you're like, fuck me, it's just a crossover of everything. Like, like you can hear fucking like influence of like trap, dubstep, like all sorts, like production quality in all of this fucking 3-4 minutes.
It's mad, isn't it? Like I don't know if you watch them, but I when the family comes round, when we're hosting people and shit like that, I've got my parents into it. The Anjuna Beats 350, 400p parties where they do the boat parties. We stick them on and we'll just be like doing family get-togethers. Christmas Day we had that on in the background. It's brilliant. Like you say, you've got your mix of like electro, you've got the progressive sounds. It's a bit of trance. It's a bit of everything. It's so good.
But that live as well, like in a live environment, is just like incomparable. You kind of like going to an above and beyond show is just fucking next level. Like the like emotional side of things, like like I see in the breakdowns and that hands in the air moment, and just like it's fucking like that floaty trancey sort of stuff. Then into just fucking banging intros and outros, and it's just fucking. You don't know what's hit you, man, when you've come out of one of them shows. Like, it's like, what the fuck has just happened there?
Class, isn't it? Can you tell me sort of a mad story or a funny story about a moment at a gig where maybe something's gone wrong or something's happened that you didn't expect?
I mean, there's fucking loads of stuff which has happened really I probably will never ever be able to talk about. But like,
not on camera anyway.
Nah, but I always remember, like, again back at digital, I was fucking like, so I'd never played a gig sober, right? So I'd always be drinking like all the time. So before I was playing, I would be like, I'd have 3-4 pints beforehand, and then I'd turn up and I'd have like a mountain of Strongbow there, followed by like half a litre of vod, like sitting there. But that would be drank throughout the course of the night.
Yeah.
Then if I was playing like the first hour, or like if I was playing the first couple of hours or something like that, the first hour when like the dance floor's like empty or filling up, and people are coming in, I don't know if it was like a comfort thing, but I would like every single thing I would do, like whether I was mixing or even if I was picking my headphones up or like anything like that, my automatic reaction would be to go and just grab my drink and fucking take a swig, right? So like I was fucking right. I would be like rifling through my Strongbow, right? Like fucking in the first hour. So say if like, I don't know, drink like one can every half an hour. I was drinking like 4 cans in an hour, so like one every 15 minutes. It was just literally down, doing something, pick it up, fucking, and I was just doing it like just on the automatic.
I think it is a comfort thing because I fell into that.
So anyway, I was just like, I get canny pissed, right? And then it's like pretty late on in the night. Well, I'm saying late, it's fucking pretty early. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Main room's absolutely full to the fucking brim, right? and me and Felix are going back to back. And like he's canny fucking pissed. I'm steaming. And I just remember like fucking leaning over something to do something. I can't remember what I was doing, right? Because I was pissed. But I leant over and my fucking belly pressed the play button on the fucking CD and stopped the fucking music in the fucking main room, like to fucking everyone. And then I was that pissed I didn't realize what the fucking what had happened. And like fucking Felix is standing there like, and it takes him a split second to like fucking twig on of what's happened, and he just fucking grabs me, fucking throws us out the way, and then presses play again. And then he's like looking at us, he's like, "You fucking idiot, you!" Like, but I was just standing there, like, with me drink, just like, well, like, it fucking wasn't my fault.
That's hilarious. What'd you press, the play or the cue?
The play button, so I paused it.
So it was going da 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 da.
Just press play and it stopped. So like, fucking hell. Yeah, that was fucking pretty raj. Like, I'm trying to think of some other things as well with track and see. But yeah,
I'll tell you a quick one if you want, because I don't know if I've told you. I don't think I have.
Right.
It's been told a few times on this now, but if people are listening, then they'll like the story. But basically, I don't know if you remember back in 2019, I got the big gig in the main room at Ministry, and so anyway, you know, like I say, that was literally like the almost, I don't even want to say attainable, because to me it was just like so far behind imaginable dream, because I'd been going there since I was 18. You know, I've been there over 100 times. I was going there like every other weekend for 3 years, you know, on my own. I'd just go down there and see all my favorite DJs. I literally watched all of my idols on that stage multiple times. And so every time I looked at it, it was like literally looking up at heaven and thinking like, that's not even like real. And so anyway, to get offered to play that stage like was just something else. It was just nuts. Like, I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it now, and it's been a year and a half. But yeah, anyway, of course, a gig as big as that, your dream gig, would be the worst time for something to go wrong. Well, I turned up to the gig sort of same time I always did, turn up to Ministry to play a gig. And I think it was probably like, 11:30. I walk in, and you know, you do the sound checks, because obviously that main room is closed while the rest of the club is going on, so you can do sound checks and things like that and just check everything's okay. And it was all good, so I was like, sweet. So I think it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock, main room opens, immediately fills up because it was pretty much a sold out night. And there's the first lad warming up, then there's the second lad who's kind of playing the headline spot from 1:30 till 3, and then I'm playing like the co-headline spot 3 till 4:30, and then there's a lad after me playing 4:30 till 5. No, 4:30 till 5:30, sorry. So first lad goes on, sweet. Second lad goes on, sweet. Second lad's playing his last track, so obviously, you know, I'm putting in my USB. I set my headphones up and whatnot. He's pulled his out. Sweet, good to go. His track ends, and you know, he's kind of saying, you know, cheers everyone for coming out and whatnot, and just having a quick word on the mic before I play my first track, and puts the mic down, and bosh, I press play, start going. Now I'm, you know, trying to G up the crowd for my set. It's like a big room, you know, track that I'm going into, because it's, you know, middle of the night now. They've listened to EDM and trap and all that, and so I'm playing my first track, and it must have been about 15 seconds in. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just starts looping, and I'm like, hang on a second, I didn't press anything here. Why is this looping? And I did the same thing as you, because I'd gotten into a routine of kind of, you know, having drinks beforehand, because I was so nervous. Like, this was the place for me where my idols played. So it was always just like, yeah, I was always so nervous to do it. And that was just in the side room that hosted like a couple hundred people. So then to be playing the main room that hosts the best part of 2,000 people, I was like, you know, so I'd always be bricking it. And yeah, I weren't hammered whatsoever. Like, I was probably tipsy, but yeah, I basically was in that moment. You'll know it because you've just experienced it with that story you told me, where you're kind of a bit buzzing, but then all of a sudden something happens and you're like, what the fuck? What's going on? It really like shits you up and you're like, oh shit, what do I do? And you kind of it's like almost like a survival instinct where you're like,
yeah.
And yeah, basically I look down doing a 4-beat loop. I'm like, what the fuck? I look at my screen where the track was playing and I've never seen it before. What had happened is the lad that went on, or who was on before me, should I say, put down the mic, pulled out what he thought was his USB and walked off. He pulled out my USB and left his in.
Fucking hell.
He then went into the back room of ministry to have some drinks. And, you know, because he kind of walked off as soon as he got the USB. And I was shitting myself. I'd never experienced that before because, funnily enough, when I practice at home and whatnot, I've never pulled my USB out, you know, mid-track. So I've never known what happens. And pretty quickly, thank God, I clocked that it was, you know, my USB was missing. So I quickly went onto his USB. I was trying to find a track. I couldn't find a track that I knew. Because he literally, you know, I mean, I don't know about you. I think most DJs like myself have folders. I've got like 15 folders of different, you know, categories of music. He had 2. It was just like folder 1, folder 2. I was like, so I've got to find like a decent opening track to replace. It was some, I think I saw a Lesso. I just thought, sweet, a Lesso, that'll do. I clicked on it. It was a fucking acapella.
No way.
It was an acapella. So I'm playing this fucking, it was Lose Myself a cappella. So it was just that and a piano behind it. So I've got that playing now. I'm probably about a minute into it. And he's just come down the technician guy. I screamed at him to run after as soon as I picked my track. I said, fucking get my USB back. He sprinted back down the stairs, chucked it at me. I chucked it back in, picked a track. Another, you know, big room track now because I couldn't go finding the other one. Just picked it and then had to mix in with the acapella. That was horrible. Bearing in mind, biggest gig of my life, biggest night of my life.
Yeah.
And first fucking track that happened. So yeah, it was you'll know who it is, but I'll tell you off camera. But yeah, Jesus, yeah, that's a proper sort of heart in your throat moment. Definitely. But that kind of tests you to be like, you know, have you got what it takes to sort shit out? You know what I mean?
I know. Fuck me. I was gonna say, like when you were mentioning all that, do you get like, so before that gig, where you get any fucking mental dreams beforehand, like fucking of things going wrong and that, and just fucking not turning up on time and like missing the gig and all that kind of stuff? Do you get stuff like that? Because I do.
I've never got that, but I think to me, like, I'm a big overthinker, so I think that happens when I'm awake through the day. Because like you said, like there was this guy that I was listening to where he was talking about like he's like a traveler on YouTube, and he was talking about how, you know, someone was saying, oh, we're going to book you on the Joe Rogan podcast in a few months' time, and he's like, I'm not going on the Joe Rogan podcast because if I do, for the next 3 months, I'm not going to sleep. And I was like, yep. Yeah.
I get some mental dreams like that. Like when I know I've got stuff like that, like say that gig or whatever, and like previous gigs what I've had, I just have fucking like really weird dreams of just fucking like fucking turning up and it's the wrong day, or like turning up and all your songs on the memory stick and your laptop's at home and you've got like half an hour to fucking, or like just loads of mad stuff like that.
I've had worries about that, don't get me wrong, where now like I carry 2 USBs with me because I sometimes just think, what if I click on the USB one day and nothing loads up? I just like, oh no, you know. What would you say your best piece of advice is for upcoming DJs trying to get gigs and things like that?
Just keep fucking plugging away and like, and also like just fucking do your research. Really, like find out who's fucking Find out who's running gigs, who's fucking the people behind the shows. Find out, like, just, you know, it's not hard. Just fucking find out who the people who you need to speak to is, you know, and just like get talking to them, get to know what goes on behind the scenes, and fucking go and support the shows, and like that goes a long way. Like, you know, going to fucking, you know, going to shows for so many years. I mean, like yourself and things like that. It's like it doesn't go unnoticed. Do you know what I mean? You're not just a random person turning up and saying, "Excuse me, I love what you do here, but can I have a gig?" Like, but you never step foot in the place for ever, and you fucking want us to just book you and fucking put you on as a gig, like, you know.
It's like what Felix said last week. If you keep turning up, they're going to notice your face and they're going to chat to you.
Definitely. It's like, you know, even if you're just in the fucking crowd and you just fucking, you know, you get recognized and just things like that. But it's all, you know, being the best producer in the world or the best DJ in the world just isn't enough now. It's like, you know, going back to what you first asked us about my name and stuff like that, like you need to be like a brand, and you need to, like, you know, you kind of just being a brilliant music producer just isn't enough, sort of thing, to get gigs or anything like that. You know, so yeah, just making connections is definitely the fucking biggest thing, but also probably the hardest thing. I would have thought anyone can download, you know, programs and fucking synths and, you know, all the plugins and everything which goes with it, and start making music or recording things and things like that. But you know, once you've got a track and it's finished, you don't have a fucking clue where to send it to or who to speak to or anything like that. It's absolutely pointless. So
you got to put in the groundwork, ain't you? And that's
100%, yeah.
That's the thing. Like I hear it in some interviews sometimes, but like artsy people, you know, people who work in different types of art, particularly music, can be some of the laziest people sometimes. And it's true. Like you get into that rut sometimes where you just like, you know, you don't do anything, and before you know it, a couple of months have passed by, and you're like, what the fuck? Like last couple of months, I did so much, and then, you know, you can let it pass you by quickly.
Yeah, that's a thing as well. What I've kind of learned myself, and it kind of helped with having that place up in Killingworth and stuff, is like, you can't, like, with me now with music and stuff like that, I can't force things. So like I can't just like wake up one day and then just be like, right, I'm going to sit in front of my computer and I'm going to write something today, write something brand new, or like, you know, I want to finish this track today. And if I sit down and within, like, you know, within the first half an hour, 45 minutes, if I'm not feeling it, I'll just fucking shut it down or whatever. And I know now that, like, when I'm not in the zone, it's pointless me sitting there for 6-7 hours and forcing something which I'll listen to the next day and it's totally shit, because I know, like, I'll wake up some mornings and I'll just be like, I've, you know, either thought of something or like whatever, and there's just this fucking little engine going around in my head, and I'm like, right, I need to do something, and I'll open it up, and they're like my best days where I'm like my most productive, like 100%. I can just sense it from the fucking minute I wake up. And I've just learned now that, like, because I would, you know, you kind of, it's like that quality quantity sort of thing. It's like, do you sit on your computer for 7 days a week for 12 hours a day and just fucking churn stuff out and just, like, you know, but it's probably not going to be the best work. Do you know what I mean? Because no one can work like that.
It's like finding new music for me, where, like, if I haven't done it for a few weeks and then I get on my laptop and then, you know, 10 tracks out of 20 I listen to and I fall in love with them, I'm like, bang, I can get them into my mixes. You get really inspired, but then all of a sudden I'll be sat there for 3 or 4 hours. I've had a few drinks, and by the end of it, I'm so mentally exhausted. I'm like, why did I do this?
Yeah. Oh, I know. But yeah, I've learned that there's been a few times where, I mean, I've even had like deadlines and stuff to meet where, you know, which deadlines can be quite good at the same time, but on the other hand, it's like the extra pressure takes the fun out of it. And yeah, I've like had deadlines to meet before, and it's like, right, well, I'm sitting here nothing's working, like my brain's not working, I'm not into it, like everything I'm trying to do to be inspired just isn't working, it's just pointless. And then you'll close it, wait a couple of days, open it back up again, and then you can just fucking finish it straight away, whatever you're doing.
Mad, isn't it? Because it can be just as stupid as, like, you know, you just can't get inspiration. You go away for a week or so, like you go, you know, you don't pay attention to it, or you go on holiday and you come back. And it might not even necessarily been what you've experienced when you've been away, but you just come back and you feel in a completely different mood.
Yeah. What was really weird for me, like this time last year, was like when everyone started doing loads of like live stream stuff on Twitches and that. Like I was watching watching fucking like people do live streams and that and interacting and like all this kind of stuff. And some people were playing me tracks and all that kind of stuff. It was good fun. But for some reason, like when I was doing that, for them like 2.5 months when I was like into that, it totally fucking squashed all of me like inspiration for what music I was making and that. It just I just couldn't fucking get out of this little bubble, and I was just stuck in it. It was really like weird. And I don't know if I was just like sort of like hooked on it sort of thing, you know what I mean? Like getting in that little sort of community of like Twitch and stuff. And I was just like, I don't know, it like took quite a lot of my time. I wasn't streaming or anything. I was just like in the chats and like in other people's live streams and like stuff like that. And I don't know, just totally, it was weird. So then I just stopped doing it. It was fucking weird. Like a couple of months last year, I was just fucking, yeah, really strange.
Did you have like throughout last year, like a period where you just didn't do anything? Because like for me, for most of last year, obviously, well, for a lot of us, definitely for me, was like the least productive year by far in terms of music, because I just had zero inspiration and everything was a bit down and, you know, crap. And
yeah, and kind of no at the same time, because it was a funny one for me. So I found that like last year was the year where I'd made more progress in a year than I'd ever made before in my like the Tephra project sort of thing.
Yeah.
And just like I don't know if it was due to everyone being grounded, so there was no, you know, there was more of the right people listening to your music rather than your music going to like, you know, people who might be representing someone, then for them to, you know, listen to your track and then for them to think, oh, nah, they won't like it. But because all of these superstar and A-list DJs and stuff were all grounded at home and actually had more time to listen to music and more time to interact and stuff like that, I just found out I made more ground last year than I had ever previously, which was, yeah, it was strange. But then on the other hand, which was, you know, like I say, when I give up my studio in Killingworth, and I moved back like all my stuff into my mum and dad's for about 6 months while I was like doing up this house what I'm in now, and before I moved in, I had like this little temporary setup at my mum and dad's again, and it was and I used to like I had it like in the kitchen, and in there I wrote some of probably my best music in there, which was fucking really weird as well, and that was all through like the lockdown stuff and things like that. Which was, yeah, that was fucking strange.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I was supposed to start this sort of interview series in January of last year. Like I had it all written out. Like I came up with an idea. You know, I spoke to Felix about it, and I said, like, okay, really, the only guy that I knew about that was doing interviews with sort of DJs and producers was this guy on the west coast of America. But again, their music taste over there is a lot different to ours. They've got a lot of trap and dubstep. And he did do the odd interview with like guys that we listen to. You know, he did one a few weeks ago with Charmy. He's done one with Darude. The one with Cosmic Gate, I'll send you. I think you'd like that one. He's done one with them. But he's only done like a few with those guys. The 90% of his stuff is like dubstep and trap guys. And there was no one really besides, like I say, Felix has done it, obviously. But besides that, there weren't really anyone going after like the bigger artists on the European side of things, like all the big DJs. And there was a lot of guys that I knew personally as well that, I think had interesting backstories like yourself.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to sort of be able to speak to people like yourself and expose that to other people. But I don't know. I just kind of hit a brick wall in terms of motivation with it all, because I think like it became like a bit of a hole in the sense that like I didn't know how long. I don't think any of us did, but it just kind of, there was no end in sight kind of thing, and it was just like, what the fuck are we doing now? And so yeah, I was supposed to start in January of 2020, and I ended up starting in January of 2021. Right then, I've got a few more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. So, who is your biggest inspiration?
I would say, I mean, I have different like sort of categories of inspiration, because I look at how people have like built themselves, and like them as a person or as a business or something like that really inspires us.
What we usually do on this is we'll do like because a lot of people, they have one that's kind of music related and then one that's non-music related.
Yeah, well, sort of like music related. I mean, obviously above and beyond, like Van Buren, like people like that who sort of built up this like absolute empire or army of like fans, and people like that who is, I mean, that is just massively inspiring how they've managed to do that. Hugh, and then on the other side of things, which still pretty much the same kind of industry, and that is is looking at what like Ben Nicky's done with himself, and how he's like marketed himself like absolute fucking genius, and how he's built himself up from scratch, and like his sort of story over the last 15 years is massively inspiring as well. He done like it's worth a listen. He done this like podcast chat show thing with this army veteran from Wales who does like gets loads of different people in and speaks about it. And Ben Nicky talks about that, like how he, his background before he was into music and that, and how he developed and started, seeing a little niche market and marketing himself, and how he got about to do all of that sort of thing. And it's just a fucking, people like that really inspire me. Like how driven they are and stuff like that. I think it's fucking, it's great. I'd love to be able to do that. But yeah, and then, I mean, other things outside of music. I mean, there's fucking tons of people who inspire you every single day. Do you know what I mean? Just like even people who are fucking, people who are ill, who like family friends and stuff like that who are ill, and you look at them and you think, fucking hell, like, what an inspiration for me to fucking get out of bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's totally flip side.
You usually like the guy at the gym with one leg or whatever, you're like, wow.
Exactly. Just people like that, and you just fucking you think to yourself, I mean, we are quite lucky, as in we've got a roof over our head and things like that, and it's just like little things in life which you look at it daily, really, and you're just like, fuck me, what an inspiration. Things like that. But but musical wise, above and beyond, Van Buren, definitely.
What would you say is sort of the next dance music subgenre that you think is going to blow up? Like, for example, in 2017-18, we had psytrance. We've had sort of big room EDM in 2012-13. What would you say is the next wave that's going to come out?
I think it's going to be fucking like breakbeat stuff, like your bicep, that kind of fucking stuff. Like, honestly, like, fucking, that is going to be the next fucking techno. Do you know how the techno waves just like fucking where the cool kids go and listen to fucking, that's how what they listen to. It'll be that kind of stuff. Definitely. It's more like middle ground, like crossover radio stuff, but it'll be like, I do. I think that's where that'll be the next sort of fucking fad, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, techno's never been a thing for me. Like, I can't stand it. I think the music is pretty boring, but it gets worse when you look at the people that are listening to it. For the most part, it's just snobby twats who ain't interested in listening to anything else, and they're very, I don't know. It's such like a snooty sort of subgenre, and I can't be arsed with this. Like,
no, I know. I can only tolerate it in small doses, like for fucking warm up stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
No.
But even again, that's something else. Is like different versions of like subgenres can interest me as well. Because, like, for example, I don't know if you remember that IO.
Yeah. Of course.
He had techno, but he also had it in a trancey way, and he did sort of techno big room tracks sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was really, really good. Like, it was some of my favorite music I've ever listened to.
Yeah.
So he can kind of flip, and I think people like yourself with what you're doing can flip a subgenre into something else that's not been heard before. And I really admire things like that.
Yeah, that's what I am trying to do, is like like have a good crossover between, and like that's what I like about that IO was like, again, like trancey breakdowns with trancey riffs and stuff into like, it's not a boring techno beat. It's just like it is quite fucking like, like underground Germany techno stuff, but the elements of the production are taken from like, the trancey side of things, which I was saying, like the production like quality in that is just fucking through the roof. So you listen to it and you're like, fucking hell, what are these sounds coming through? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got it fucking nailed on, didn't he? It was like literally trance techno fucking crossed over in the middle.
Yeah, he nailed it. He did.
Yeah.
We're going to play a couple of games now. Going to put my Saw impression on. So the first game we're going to play, I'm going to name a few subgenres, and I want you to describe them as best as you can to somebody who has no understanding of music and music production whatsoever. So you got to do it in the most basic terms to basically a dummy that, that has no understanding of music production, BPM, anything like that. Okay. Let's go with deep house.
Shite. Deep house, easy listening. Easy listening, lounge music. What kind of deep house we're talking here? We're talking like EDX sort of stuff, or do you know what I mean?
No, like not what you would play in 103, I guess, but like what you kind of hear in 103, like the deep house / techno kind of slower.
Yeah, easy listening. Very nice.
Okay. Big room.
Fucking, big room for me is like, who am I describing it to? Someone who hasn't got a clue.
Not a clue what it is.
So just fucking big room, just top off, take your top off, tie it around your head, and just fucking pants down to the floor, and just like.
I seen that at Creamfields 2019. There was literally, the crowd cleared out the way. It was Dimitri Vegas like Mike on the Sunday closing, and there was this guy literally stood in the middle of the crowd. Middle of the crowd moved out of the way, and they was pointing to him. He was literally, his bollocks hanging out either side in a mankini.
Love it.
It's hilarious, man. Oh man. Let's go for psytrance.
Psytrance is just like, I'm trying to think of like what I would say to someone if you go into a gig to psytrance, and like, well, what psytrance would be like you don't need to go to the gym for like a week afterwards because you're just fucking sitting there just fucking stomping your way into the ground. It's like,
yeah
just non-stop. There's no, you don't get any breaks. It's just like, fucking come on.
Yeah.
So just solid.
Okay. And then the last game we're going to play, we're going to do a similar sort of thing to that, but I want you to describe each subgenre I'm going to say in one word.
Right.
Okay. So, progressive house.
It's tricky, this, isn't it? Progressive house, I would say chugging, just fucking. Yeah.
Deep house.
I already used that one word, didn't I? Shit.
You can use it again. Is that your answer? Okay. Big room.
Lethal.
Nice. Hard style.
Just like whoa, like that's a word, isn't it? Like,
that's the four. I like that. Trance.
Gotta be emotional, hasn't
it? Right there. Psytrance.
Hyphenated word, dick out.
Okay. Bass house.
Bouncing.
Yeah. Techno.
Dark.
For me, techno is never ending.
Never ending.
Dubstep.
Goth.
That's interesting. What makes you say that?
Because I just always imagine like
the
people the dubstep. You know what I mean? Like big long hair, just like, just like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Skrillex. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
he was always the big kid with the long hair and drinking a can of Original Monster in high school. Would be much into that. Yeah. My word for it is screech.
Aye.
The funniest one I've had so far on here is robots fucking. It's hilarious. Drum and bass.
Depends, because you can get some some of the mental drum and bass, which is like really hard drum and bass, but then all like that liquidy drum and bass stuff, like what Wilkinson does and Sub Focus touch on, and that are like, I love that. Drum and bass, how to describe it in one word? That's a tricky one, that.
I say busy.
Busy, aye, quite a lot going on.
Because there's a lot going on in it.
Aye.
That's what I say, busy.
That's my guilty pleasure, like drum and bass. Definitely.
I've gone off it. I've never really liked it for the simple fact that locally, when I've always wanted to go to a dance music event to listen to any of the subgenres we've already sort of listed, the only thing that's been on tap is either techno or drum and bass. And I'm like, I want the other stuff. And when that's all I get, I just get fed up with it. And I'm like, but don't get me wrong, like I've seen Netsky at Tomorrowland, and that was good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah.
I would say
drum and bass is me driving music. If I've got a long drive, it's like a fucking.
Oh really?
Drum and bass set. Yeah.
That's where I'll put on like a 6-hour trance set when I've got a long drive. Yeah. That's where trance comes into me. Yeah, because it's got that continuous sort of rhythm to it. Trap
again, touching on goth there, like. I would say, busy for trap. I would have said like. It was like
really?
think of in my head when I think of trap. Yeah.
I think drum and bass is busy. I think trap is heavy.
Aye.
That's the only thing I can kind of say for it, because there is like a lot of like, it's like
Yeah.
sucking you in almost.
Yeah.
Happy hardcore.
Ah, fucking love it. Like that is I've already used Lethal. That is Lethal Happy Hardcore's fucking class. Scott Brown and that.
The Celtic player.
Aye. Yeah. Fucking Happy Hardcore, just fucking yeah, banging, Lethal, class.
Yeah. Mine is childish.
Aye, yeah, aye, that is childhood. Fucking
Well,
yeah.
no, not even that. I think it's childish because like you have the little girl sort of vocals in it sometimes.
Chipmunk voices.
Yeah, and that's what makes me think of like little 7-year-olds bouncing around on a bouncy castle. Tropical House.
Tropical House. Ooh, sexy.
Ooh, hello. My
Just
man
imagine.
getting his moves on.
Yeah, I'm just imagining on the beach
Mm-hmm.
with some Tropical House playing, fucking pina coladas.
I was gonna say that, pina colada in hand.
Yeah, with fucking waves hitting up and you just fucking yeah, get me on holiday.
Beautiful. Groove / funk. And a lot of people get confused when I say this. I'm talking like the Glitterbox type of vibes. Do you know what I mean?
I think what this is weird is cruise ship. I think of
Really?
I think of like a cruise ship dance floor when I think of Glitterbox.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah, it's that like, it's funny because it's got a huge appeal, hasn't it? Like the Glitterbox brand, like all ages. But I just have this fucking like vision of like 35 plus in a cruise ship, the big glitter ball there, just like giving it fucking 6 out and just like,
love it, man. Future bass.
Future bass, fucking. Like, I think the stuff like that is like, like the shuffling dance. Shuffling. I think of when I think of that, like. Yeah.
And finally, Melbourne bounce.
Ooh, that's another shuffler as well, isn't it? Melbourne bounce. Fire. Always see just like Will Sparks with these fucking, every video he posts is like fucking just flames, just fucking gone fucking off.
Okay, sweet. And then the last question is, what is sort of the one song that sums you up in life? The one song that you'd like to sort of, if you could have like a, at the end of your life, kind of like a flip book with all your photos in, what would be the one song playing?
So like my funeral song.
I didn't want to quite say that, but yeah. The one song that just always made you happy. And
I think it's going to be Casey and the Sunshine Band, Give It Up. Baby,
okay.
Give it up.
Uh-huh.
Baby, give it up. Yeah. It just reminds us of summer.
Really?
Yeah. I think like used to have this fucking caravan with my mum and dad like years ago, and there was like at the start of summer, so it would have been like this first weekend in June or something. There was a sports day, and it always used to be like a corker weekend for the weather. And I just remember on that morning, they used to play music, and the first song which used to come on was that.
Really?
And that was when I was like really small. So like you just listen here. Then the fucking drums come in and I was just like, fucking hell, this is the summer. This is what I've waited for fucking 6 months.
That's awesome, that is, because that's like linked to your childhood. It's a long memory and it's a happy memory.
Yeah.
That's
so
nice,
yeah, that fucking belt that tune.
Beautiful. So What have you got coming up in the next sort of 6 to 12 months that people can look forward to?
So I've got a gig at Digital in July, which is fucking wicked, on the 23rd, I think it is. And
I'll
that's
be there.
for,
I'll absolutely be there for that.
yeah, that's fucking Ben, Nicky, and friends. So
Isn't you and Felix on that? Is it the
I
both
don't,
of you?
I don't know if Felix is playing, but I'm just doing the first hour in the main room. Fucking, so that's fucking the boy. And then I've got that wrong event, 10th birthday at Victoria Warehouse in October, which will be fucking mint. And then a little bit after that, a few weeks later, is that Dave Pierce show in Solar Stone in fucking Cosmic Ballroom, which is fucking wicked. And also I've got a remix which is coming out on Enhanced in the next month or so, along with a couple of originals which are coming out as well, which is fucking wicked. And I'm working on a mint collaboration with someone who is fucking like I'm buzzing about. So I've been working on that for the last sort of month and a half, maybe a little bit longer, trying to perfect that. So
give us any hints as to who it could be or what it could be.
He's got releases out on. He's got his own record label, and he's also just released a 2-track EP on Anjuna Beats. So that's yeah.
Okay.
And he's English, so
oh, okay, I know. Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, so that's fucking wicked. I'm buzzing about that. So yeah, that's
Nice
me.
one, pal. That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak to me today. And
round to it.
Yeah, man. Well, what we usually do is sort of in 6 or so months, we'll have another sort of catch up, and hopefully we'll be back to going mad on stages again. You know what I mean, man?
I know. But yeah,
Nice one. Cheers, buddy. Take care,
yeah,
man.
no bother. Speak to you soon, Mike.
Thank you, man.